What if I told you there's a book, ancient, hidden, and powerful, that contains 6 vibrational levels capable of completely transforming your reality? Would you dare to open it? Because even now, as you read these words, something invisible is shaping your life. Your energy, your frequency, is being influenced by silent patterns you were never taught to recognize. Patterns that operate in the background, quietly deciding what you feel, what you attract, what you lose, and what never seems to change, no matter how hard you try. And the hardest truth to accept is that these patterns weren't even created by you, yet they've been dictating your reality all along. This book isn't just information, it's an awakening. It reveals a vibrational code so powerful, it was hidden, distorted, and silenced for centuries, not because it was dangerous, but because it made people too free, too aware, too untouchable to be controlled. This knowledge is not for the faint-hearted. It doesn't flatter your comfort zones. It confronts them. It reaches deep into the silent, unconscious layers of your life and asks you one question. Are you truly living, or are you simply repeating? The reason your life feels stuck has nothing to do with your faith, your effort, or how many positive thoughts you forced yourself to think. You're not stuck because you're not trying hard enough. You're stuck because you're vibrating at a level that no one told you existed. A frequency so subtle, it's invisible, but it's real, it's alive, and it's shaping everything. You've been doing what you're told, setting goals, thinking positively, meditating, praying, being grateful, and yet your external world hasn't changed the way you hoped it would. That's because the problem isn't in what you're doing, it's in what you're vibrating. And your vibration isn't determined by your words. It's determined by your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your reality grows. This book doesn't offer another manifestation trick. It isn't about saying affirmations or repeating mantras. It's about helping you understand the structure underneath everything. The blueprint. The unseen program that's been running inside of you, shaping your reality without your awareness. You didn't install it. You inherited it. You absorbed it. And now it's time to see it. From the moment you wake up, you are pulled by a current of urgency. You think it's normal. You call it being productive. But that pressure to check your phone, to stay updated, to feel like you're always behind, that's not just habit. That's programming. It starts before you even speak your first word of the day. It's in the first emotion that rises in your chest, the first thought that reminds you of what you lack. It's in the fears you carry without question, the constant comparison, the sense of never being enough. That's the code. That's the conditioning. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why this book is different, because it doesn't just open your eyes. It wakes up the part of you that has been asleep. It reminds you that the real you, the unprogrammed you, is still there, buried beneath years of mental noise and emotional survival. You're not failing because you're weak. You're not stuck because you're broken. You're vibrating out of alignment, and your reality is just mirroring that back. This knowledge isn't new. It's ancient. Sacred texts have whispered it for ages. Reality doesn't bend to desire. It responds to frequency, and frequency is shaped by attention. This isn't metaphor. This is energetic law. Your attention is a force. a beam of light that carries vibration. It doesn't just observe, it creates. Wherever it goes, it builds. And if it's constantly directed toward fear, frustration, judgment, and lack, then no matter what you want, your energy is already building something else. You've been trained to live in reaction, to orbit around problems, to stay in survival. And because you were exposed to this long enough, it became normal. But that normal has a cost. It keeps you looping in the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same results. And you begin to think, maybe this is just who I am. Maybe this is just how life is. But it's not. It's a vibrational pattern. And once you see it, you can change it. Here's what they never taught you. The mind is just a mirror. It reflects what's being held in your vibration. And before any thought or feeling or action arises, there is always attention. That's the origin, the seed, the starting point of creation. But no one taught you to notice it. School didn't. Society didn't. And most spiritual teachings don't go deep enough to reveal it. They tell you to think positive, to stay grateful. But they don't show you that if your attention is still rooted in fear, then everything you build will carry the weight of that fear. So you try, you meditate, you journal, you affirm, but nothing sticks. Why? Because your attention is still being hijacked by invisible forces. You live in a world designed to steal your focus. Social media doesn't connect, it fragments. The news doesn't inform, it terrifies. Entertainment doesn't relax, it distracts. And all of it keeps you from your inner power. You've been trained to focus everywhere except inward. And that's why your energy never stabilizes. Your field never clears. Because you're planting seeds of healing in soil poisoned by fear. You think you're changing, but your vibration hasn't shifted. And vibration is what creates. So nothing truly changes. Your reality isn't random. It's not chaos. It's precise. It reflects what your energy reinforces. And reinforcement isn't just thought. It's observation, identification, emotional repetition. If you keep seeing yourself as someone who lacks, someone who's not enough, someone who has to fight for scraps, then your vibration will collapse every attempt at abundance before it even arrives. And here's where it gets deeper. Right now, as you read this, your programming is already reacting. Maybe you feel doubt, resistance. Maybe you're wondering if this is too much, too strange, too different. That's not coincidence. That's the old code trying to survive. It senses a threat. It knows that once you see it, it can't control you anymore. So it fights back. It whispers doubts. It makes you feel tired. It pulls you toward distraction. That's how it protects itself, because your awakening is dangerous to the old system. Have you ever had a breakthrough, an inspiring talk, a healing experience, a powerful realization, only to fall back into the same old patterns a few days later? That's not because you're weak. It's because your vibration is tied to triggers, and those triggers live in your attention. You may change your thoughts for a moment, but your attention still returns to the same emotional habits, and the energy stays the same. That's the real prison. Not your job, not your relationship, not your circumstances. The real prison is the vibration that recreates those experiences over and over. The loop that keeps attracting the same problems in different disguises. You may move cities, change careers, cut people off, but if the frequency doesn't shift, the story won't either. And you weren't born in that frequency. You were trained into it. You absorbed it through pain, through fear, through survival. And now it runs quietly in the background of your life, like a song on repeat you forgot was playing. But this is the moment you hear it. This is the moment you remember. This isn't who you are. It's just where your attention was conditioned to stay. You've been trying to change your life with willpower, but willpower is a surface tool. Attention goes deeper. Attention is the soil where all manifestation grows. If that soil is dry, cracked, poisoned by fear, then nothing lasting will grow. Not love, not peace, not abundance. That's why change feels hard, because the foundation isn't healed. Most people won't talk about this. They'll tell you to think better thoughts, to be more grateful, to just let go. But they won't show you what's underneath all of it. They won't show you the pattern, the loop, the subtle structure that vibrates beneath every choice you make. Because if they did, you'd realize that nothing changes until your vibration changes. And your vibration doesn't change until your attention returns to the self. Now you begin to see why things repeat, why relationships cycle, why success slips away, why happiness feels temporary. It's not because you're broken. It's because your attention is still feeding the old world, and the old world feeds itself through your energy. But you can stop. You can unplug. You can begin again, not by escaping your life, but by changing how you show up in it. With conscious attention, with awareness so sharp that the old programs start to dissolve in your presence, with energy so grounded that nothing can hijack it, with frequency so clear that your field begins to magnetize what aligns with your truth, not your fear. And it starts by realizing that the way you've been living, this rushed, reactive, survival-driven way, isn't natural. It's just common. But common doesn't mean true. It doesn't mean right. It just means practiced, repeated, culturally reinforced. But you're not here to repeat. You're here to remember. Remember that you weren't born to survive. You were born to create. And real creation doesn't come from urgency. It doesn't come from fear. It comes from presence, from alignment, from stillness. And none of those things can grow in the soil of survival. So if you feel tired, overwhelmed, stuck, it's not because you're lost. It's because you're waking up. And awakening always begins in the discomfort of realizing how long you've been asleep. And now, something inside you is stirring. A whisper that says, there's more. A quiet fire that says, this isn't the end. A pulse of knowing that says, I'm ready, ready to see, ready to feel, ready to rise. And that's where we begin. There comes a moment when something soft and quiet inside of you begins to whisper that there must be more to life than what you've known. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's just a spark, an inner nudge that makes you move. That quiet whisper becomes a force, pushing you into action. You begin to change. You wake up early. You make plans. You read the right books. You sign up for courses. You set clear goals. You try new things. And for the first time, you feel like you're steering your own life. You feel alive. You feel empowered. You finally feel like something is working. You're no longer sitting still waiting for life to happen. You're creating it. And at first, it feels amazing. You begin to experience results. You see your finances improve, your health respond, your environment change. You feel productive, motivated, and determined. You're no longer drifting aimlessly. You're doing things with purpose. And because this state feels so much better than where you came from, than that numb, hopeless place you used to be in, you throw yourself fully into it. You become committed. You take control. And it works until it doesn't. At first, it all feels like growth. You feel powerful. But what you don't immediately notice is that everything you're building still depends entirely on you. You're the one holding it all up. Every success you achieve brings with it a new expectation, a new standard to meet. Every milestone only adds to the weight on your shoulders. And slowly, without even realizing it, you find yourself locked into a different kind of trap. Not the trap of stagnation, but the trap of pressure and constant effort. The focus you were proud of becomes rigid. The discipline you once celebrated turns harsh. The commitment you admired in yourself turns into burnout. You're no longer running from pain. You're chasing results. But your inner world is still reacting. It's still trying to keep up. You're no longer reacting to fear, but you're reacting to the pressure of becoming more, achieving more, improving more. You've just replaced one form of reactivity with another. And because your energy is still based in urgency, the universe responds with more of what matches that urgency. More things to control, more problems to solve, more expectations to meet. You begin to live in a cycle of constant doing. You're always asking yourself, what else can I do? What's next? How can I be better? What's the right move? And while this search is admirable, it's driven by a frantic energy. You want to grow, but your fuel is effort, not peace. And effort, when it becomes your only engine, eventually turns into exhaustion. You may not even realize it at first, but the signs begin to appear. You struggle to sleep. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your body is tense. You know you need rest, but you don't feel like you can stop because you've convinced yourself that if you let go for even a moment, everything will collapse. You've told yourself that it's all on you, that no one else will help, that you're the only one who can make it happen. And that belief feels empowering on the surface, but underneath it reveals a deeper truth. You still don't trust. You don't trust the process. You don't trust others. You don't trust the unseen. You don't trust life. You're still carrying a frequency of scarcity. It's no longer about money. It's a scarcity of time, of space, of ease. And this scarcity begins to shape how you experience your victories. You might be achieving more than ever, but you can't truly enjoy it. You can't pause. You can't breathe because your mind is already on the next thing. You're no longer living. You're managing a never-ending list of responsibilities, and your life begins to feel like one big project that never ends. You've shifted from surviving to striving, but striving becomes its own kind of prison, a prettier one, a more socially acceptable one, but a prison nonetheless. The world will applaud you for this. It rewards people who burn themselves out. It admires the ones who never rest, who work until they collapse. It tells you this is what success looks like. But deep down, you begin to feel it, the weight, the cost. You start to sense that something's off, and that same whisper from before returns. This time, it's not pushing you to act. It's asking you to listen. It's asking if there's another way to live, one that doesn't rely on endless doing, but instead on being, not based on urgency, but on truth. That's when something begins to change. You start to realize that your results won't last unless your energy is in alignment. You begin to notice how powerful even one moment of stillness can be. When your mind quiets down, something deeper awakens. You discover that it's not about how many tools or techniques you use. It's about how deeply your inner world matches your outer life. You begin to understand that you can't just meditate for 10 minutes and then spend the rest of the day in stress. You can't visualize abundance while being terrified to check your bank account. You can't write gratitude lists and then speak with complaint and bitterness. It doesn't work like that. You can't build a coherent life on fragmented energy. All of you has to align: your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. You start to see the cracks in your own story. Maybe you talk about purpose, but you stay in a job that drains you. Maybe you speak of love, but stay in relationships that hurt you. Maybe you crave peace, but live addicted to noise and distraction. You begin to realize that coherence isn't about doing more. It's about facing the places in your life that are still out of sync. And when you start to see those places, life responds. It sends you people who trigger you, situations that test your trust, delays that mirror your impatience, finances that reflect your sense of worth. These aren't punishments. They're precise reflections of your vibration. But something incredible also begins to happen. The more you bring your energy into alignment, the more life starts flowing. Your body begins to heal. Your work starts to feel like a true expression of you. Money arrives with ease. Relationships feel more honest. Things begin to open, not because you're forcing them, but because you're becoming a clearer channel for them. You experience synchronicities. Invitations appear without effort. Answers arrive without searching. Life begins to move with you. But there's still that one thing, that one area that just won't change. Maybe it's the thing that matters most: your life's mission, your deepest relationship, your health. You've done the work. You've realigned. You've grown. And yet this one piece refuses to budge. It's frustrating, confusing, but it's not random. That stuck point is there to show you something deeper, that you haven't yet shifted your identity. Your actions are aligned. Your intentions are clear, but your core self-image is still tied to an old version of you. You're still holding onto a subconscious picture of yourself shaped by pain, guilt, fear, and lack. And no matter how hard you try to evolve, that image keeps pulling you back. This is when the mind tries to rush in again. It suggests more plans, more tasks, more certifications, more techniques. But you already know how that path ends, with burnout. What you need now is not another method. It's not more effort. What you need is to go deeper, to face the image of yourself that lives in the silence between thoughts. Because that image is still broadcasting lack, still sending signals of doubt, still quietly disrupting everything you're trying to build. This is the blind spot of coherence. Everything looks aligned, but deep down, You're still waiting for something outside of you to confirm that it's safe to feel peace. You say you're vibrating love, but you get upset when it's not returned. You say you trust, but you panic when life takes an unexpected turn. This is where the most subtle form of resistance lives. The conditional vibration. You're only calm when things are calm. Only grateful when things go right. Only open when life cooperates. But real frequency doesn't come from reaction. It comes from choice. It comes from the decision to be the energy you desire, even when nothing outside of you validates it. You tell yourself, when I get the job, I'll relax. When they change, I'll feel peace. When life improves, I'll surrender. But those are just delays. Delays that tell the universe, I'm not ready yet. I need proof before I trust. But the universe doesn't respond to waiting. It responds to resonance. It doesn't give you peace so you can feel peaceful. It mirrors your peace back to you when you become it first. And that brings you to a new level of being. The shift where identity becomes your vibration, where it's no longer about what you're trying to achieve. It's about who you are when no one's watching. You stop reacting to life and begin to choose your state of being regardless of circumstances. You're no longer driven by outside events. You become the cause, not the effect. You become the source. You no longer wait to be approved. You no longer beg for signs. You no longer need everything to line up perfectly before you allow yourself to be peace, to be love, to be light. You simply become it. And when you do, life rearranges itself to meet you. People leave without conflict. New opportunities arrive without planning. You're pulled toward places that nourish you and pushed away from places that drain you. It looks like magic, but it's not. It's resonance. Your vibration shifted, and so did everything else. But this level is not without a cost. The ego resists. It tries to drag you back into old patterns. It whispers fear. It urges control. It begs for certainty. But now, you know the truth. You know that trust must come before proof. Peace must come before clarity. Love must come before validation. That's the test. Can you hold the vibration even when the world hasn't caught up yet? Can you trust even when it's silent? Can you be the energy you wish to receive, even when nothing around you confirms it? Because when you do, when you stop waiting and simply become, that's when life finally begins to reflect the truth of who you are. Not the version you tried to prove, but the one you finally chose to be. You've entered a level of awareness that very few ever reach. You're no longer trying to shape your life through logic or force. You've begun to feel how your energy, your vibration, creates your reality. Things start happening more easily. You're becoming someone new, someone aligned. But then something unexpected happens. The old ego returns, not loudly, but quietly. It doesn't come back in its original form. It shows up wearing new faces. You don't even realize it at first. It no longer controls your thoughts or choices. So instead, it starts working through your emotions. And this becomes the real test. Not what you think, but what you allow yourself to feel in silence. It's not the loud doubts that pull you back. It's the quiet ones. That unspoken sense of not being enough. That little knot in your stomach when something doesn't go your way. The discomfort that you tolerate but never resolve. These subtle feelings are how your old self tries to return. The ego knows it can't argue with your beliefs anymore, so it plays with feelings. Feelings you mistake for everyday emotions. You feel tired, but it's not just physical. It's misalignment. You feel busy and productive, but it's driven by a fear of slowing down. You feel slightly irritated, but it's not just annoyance. It's your energy returning to the old frequency. These are emotional traps, and they're so subtle that if you're not paying attention, they pull you back slowly, a little at a time. And one day you look around and realize you've gone back to a version of yourself you thought you left behind. At this level, the universe, the field, is extremely sensitive to you. It feels even the smallest shift in your vibration. If you disconnect from your inner truth for just a few minutes, it responds. If you begin justifying old emotions like fear or anger, thinking they're normal, the universe reads it as you slipping backward, and the signs begin to slow. Flow gets jammed. Your manifestations seem unclear. But this isn't punishment. It's simply response. You've already learned that the universe doesn't respond to your words or wishes. It responds to your vibration. And at this stage, it's no longer about what you say you feel. It's about what you silently carry within you. If your body is tense, if your breath is shallow, if your energy is nervous, the universe listens to that, not your affirmations. Thinking positively doesn't mean much if your body feels anxious. Saying, I am abundant, does nothing if deep down you feel lack. At this point, your vibration must become coherent, not just in your words, but in your being. And this is where many give up. The ego is clever. It uses your memories, your past wounds, even your spiritual progress to convince you to relax your standards. It whispers things like, it's okay to feel this just for today. Or, you've worked hard, you deserve to let go a little. But the universe doesn't operate on what you think you deserve. It only reflects what you are consistent with. The ego is terrified of your stability, because the longer you stay anchored in your new vibration, the more it dissolves. But this stage is subtle. The ego doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't say, go back to fear. It says, you can doubt just a little. And the moment you forget who you are, just for a few minutes, the vibration drops. That's why only those who stay consistent, who hold the vibration no matter what, begin to see the universe respond with impossible speed and precision. Eventually, something amazing starts to happen. Reality begins moving even before you ask. Things begin unfolding without needing to be forced, not because of luck and not because of wishful thinking, but because you've become so aligned that the universe doesn't wait for your commands. It responds to your presence. Your vibration is so clear that it speaks louder than your words. Science is starting to catch up with this idea. When you observe something, it changes. Your consciousness isn't just watching reality, it's shaping it. But here's the part most people miss. It's not your thoughts that shape reality. It's the energy you hold when you're fully present. That's the real power. When your presence is pure and consistent, the universe reorganizes itself around you. You begin to notice that the more you let go, the more you receive, the less you chase, the faster things come, because the field responds to your lack of resistance. It responds to the spaciousness inside you, that empty, fertile space that appears when you stop trying to control everything. But don't mistake this for passivity. This is not giving up. It's not doing nothing. It's moving from a place of inspiration instead of fear. It's acting from peace instead of panic. You still move, but now that movement comes from the center of who you are, not from anxiety or need. You stop living from your mind. You start living from your energy. And the more consistently you stay here, the more doubt disappears. You no longer just believe. You start vibrating like someone who already is. Still, not everyone can hold this level, because to remain here requires something most people avoid: total surrender. At the highest stage, something sacred happens. The part of you that used to want, to try, to plan, disappears. There's no more desire to manifest, because the part of you that desired is gone. What remains is the whole, the divine. You become the channel, the vessel. You're not trying to manifest. You simply are. And the universe moves through you. You don't think about decisions. You feel them. You don't resist life. You flow with it. You start to live in harmony with something far greater than yourself. And in that state, life becomes incredibly precise. Things align perfectly, not because you made them happen, but because you got out of the way. Miracles aren't rare here. They become natural. They're not things you beg for. They're natural outcomes of your alignment. You're no longer trying to vibrate something. You've become the vibration itself. Doubt doesn't exist here because there's no ego left to doubt. And yet, even here, you can fall. Even the brightest light can be dimmed. The key is to continue maintaining your vibration. That means honoring everything you've built, not just by believing it, but by protecting it from anything that pulls you down. There are 3 secret practices that sustain this state. First, separation, not from the world, but from automatic reactions. You must be awake enough to notice the moment something tries to pull you back. That 1-second window where you either react or remember who you are. That moment is everything. Second, you must feel what you say you believe. Saying, "I am love," doesn't work if your body doesn't feel safe. Declaring, "I am abundant," doesn't matter if you still vibrate fear. You must fully embody the feelings you speak of, even when your life hasn't yet caught up. You must feel abundance even with an empty wallet. Feel gratitude even when no one's watching, because feeling is the gateway to bending reality. And third, you must sustain. Raising your frequency isn't the hard part. Staying there is. That takes daily presence, daily attention. You must constantly choose where your focus goes. Are you thinking about what's missing? Or are you holding the vibration of what's already becoming real? Your attention is the key to holding the new world in place. There's also a mysterious space between these stages. A quiet, hidden level where you're no longer the old you, but you haven't yet fully dissolved into the divine. It's a transition zone. You feel light, intuitive, free. Everything flows. But here's the danger. This is where many fall, because the ego pretends to be gone, but it's just sleeping. And when you stop being vigilant, it wakes up again, wearing spiritual clothes. It says, "I already know this. I'm already healed. Nothing can affect me now." And with that thought, you return to subtle control. In this space, your trust must become humility. Your knowledge must become silence. You must walk lightly and stay awake. Because even though you're no longer reacting to life, old emotional patterns still live in your energy. They can be triggered if you forget you're still crossing over. To truly complete this transformation, you must let even your spiritual identity die. The part of you that learned, practiced, succeeded, that too must fall away. Only then can you be reborn as something that cannot be taught. A silent, anchored presence that doesn't perform. It simply is. Eventually, all control must die. There are no more techniques, no more mentors, no more rituals. Just you alone with what still wants to grip reality. And when even that dissolves, there is silence, stillness, no trying, no effort, just being. That's when true manifestation happens. Not when you think, not when you visualize, but when your energy is so stable, so true, that the universe has no choice but to reflect it. You're no longer trying to anchor a frequency. You are the anchor. The universe isn't reacting to what you want. It's responding to who you are. And now, after everything, you return to the world, not as who you were, not as someone seeking, but as someone complete. The chaos of the world doesn't disappear, but now it can't touch you because your vibration is so solid it becomes a shield. You feel things, you observe them, but they don't shake you. Your attention becomes your protection. Whatever gets your attention grows. So you choose carefully. You see life, but you don't let it define you. You move through noise, but you don't carry it. This is what it means to be free in the world. You no longer chase safety. You don't need proof. You simply live, breathe, and radiate. Your presence is enough to shift the room, to change the atmosphere, to bend time. Not because you try, but because your vibration leads. And finally, you understand something deep. You're not here to learn anymore. You're here to remember. This wasn't about new knowledge. It was about awakening a frequency that's always been inside you, waiting, watching, ready. You're not trying to vibrate. You are the vibration. You don't manifest by trying anymore. You manifest through alignment, through truth, through the invisible, powerful coherence of your inner world. And when your inner world is whole, the outer world bows. Say it now, and say it with full intent. I choose to vibrate at my true level. This is your moment. The field is listening. The journey is just beginning.